Hey, Peace Legs, I'm stuck inside a bomb. I'm gonna need somebody to take a really big dig and get me out of here. Yeah, that's it. Hey, go. All right, I'm finally freed from the bong I've been stuck in for 1,000 years. It was just a funny thought I had today about a genie, and instead of living in a lamp, he lived in a bong, and instead of rubbing it 3 times or whatever, when you took a hit from that bong, you sucked the genie into your lungs, and when you exhaled, instead of a cloud of smoke, a genie came out and granted you 3 wishes. We gotta create this comic or whatever. Anyway, this is my first podcast since being displaced by Hurricane Ian, so I'm not in my studio. The mics aren't quite as good. The sound quality is not going to be muted like my studio was. I'm at my sister's house in Mount Holly, a beautiful place on 11 acres, and then on the other side of the 11 acres is a conservatory, so it's all land. We've been going out in the woods and hiking every day, so it's not been a bad time. And this is my first podcast since the hurricane. We're doing it from Mount Holly, North Carolina. My guest today is Chancellor K. Jackson. He wrote the book 14 Days in Beijing, which is ranked #1 over 15 times on Amazon in multiple genres. He's also released a romance saga about a man's first step towards gaining emotional intelligence titled You Love and You Learn and Real Love Never Dies. They are all available on Amazon. Check them out. We're going to go ahead and dive into this with Chancellor Jackson.
America's public enemy #1 in the United States is drug abuse.
Drugs are menacing our society.
What are your thoughts on the drug problem?
I had a great time doing drugs.
So tonight, from our family to yours, from our home to yours, thank you for joining us.
This is the Peace on Drugs.
Hello.
What's going on, family? How you living?
Doing all right. How you doing?
Hey, man, I can't complain. Every day is a great day. The choice is ours.
That's it. We're recording. We're just going to jump right into it. If I need to edit some out, I can, but I think we'll just go for it.
For sure, let's do it.
All right. Where are you at right now?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. I'm not far. I'm right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, for sure. I got some teammates from the Carolina area, south and north. So I'm not too familiar with it, but I got somewhat of a feel for it just from, you know what I'm saying, playing football with those boys.
That's what's up. Are you a Falcons fan?
Of course.
Well, I'm a Panthers fan, so we're fighting for the division tomorrow.
All right, that's a bet then. We're going to see what's going on. We're gonna see
what's up.
Let the best team win, because I can't really talk.
Yeah, I feel you. I thought we gave up, and then we went and beat the Bucs. I was like, all right, well, maybe, who knows?
On me, yeah, facts. Yeah, still a lot of football to play. Season still, there's still pretty more games left. So, hey.
That's it, man. Well, yes, I'm glad we're finally doing this. When we had it scheduled before the storm hit Florida, and then we ended up here. So I'm got a little makeshift studio at my sister's house here in Charlotte, and we're just, good to have you on, man. Good to be getting back and doing the podcast.
On me, for sure. Appreciate you for having me. Definitely.
So you wrote the book 14 Days in Beijing, and it's about your time spent in jail, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about that. Tell me about what you got arrested for, and start there.
Yeah. I got locked up abroad in China for 14 days for 1.4 grams of cannabis. I was locked up for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 15 men to one cell, 9 wooden beds, 3 soups a day, and all I had was 1 plastic bowl and 1 plastic spoon 14 days straight. Nobody knew I was there. No information was explained to me as far as how the process works, how the jail even operates. Of course, there's a language barrier, so it ain't like I can communicate with these folks fully anyway. So,
right.
So yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm just here to tell you I did 14 days. As you read it, you don't know how long you're gonna be here. You just know you in here. And hey, you know what I'm saying? You know what's gonna play out, what's gonna take place, but you know you're gonna learn as you go.
Yeah, so for 14 days you were pretty much like in a lockdown, like you were in a cell by yourself for 14 days.
No, I was in cell with 14 other people.
Oh, wow. Anybody else in there speak English?
For the first 3 days, no, I was the only foreigner, only English speaker in the cell. So I was in there with 14 other Chinese men. So it was no form of communications for 72 hours for the
Wow.
most part. It's a lot of reflecting.
Yeah.
A lot of reflecting.
I mean, like, so I know they have pretty strict drug laws there. And so how did you get out after 14 days?
They just call you to go. They don't
Really?
come on. Yeah. So it was definitely kind of shocking because I wasn't expecting it. It was like, yeah, I'm like, what, for real? But I also had a dream at one point in time while I was locked up that foreshadowed, or at least showed me how my release process would be. And it was very, very similar to the dream I had. So I was just crazy when they just finally called me. I was like, oh, wow, it's time. Let's go. It was like, we out here.
Now, did they have any follow-up? Like, did you have to go to court afterwards or any trouble? Nothing?
I mean, they arrested me. They arrested me at my apartment, went to one precinct, then went to another precinct, then to the actual jail. And then after I was released, straight to my apartment to pack up the rest of my stuff, and straight to the airport where I was deported from the country.
Yeah, so you didn't ask, like, I'm not worried about any court or whatever they're going to try to do. Just get out of the country. No more of that.
But that's just how their process works. I don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? It ain't really no court system. You ain't walking before no judge. No, you meet with the warden of the jail, and pretty much he goes over your whole sentencing and process and all that. But I didn't get that treatment for some reason. Everybody else did, but for me, I didn't know. They just telling me to sign stuff and just thumbprint stuff, and I'm like, I bet.
Yeah.
Now I'm in the cell.
Now, did you buy the cannabis in China or did you bring it?
I bought it in China.
Is it easy to get there?
Yeah. Honestly, I wasn't even. I was under the impression you weren't even gonna be able to find it. So yeah, it was quite easy. It was quite accessible. You know what I'm saying? If you know somebody, oh yeah, you can get your hands on it for sure.
Yeah, and I apologize if I already said this, but how long had you been in China before the arrest?
Oh no, I ain't even mention it. I was in China for 6 months up until this point.
6 months, and what were you there for?
I was teaching English.
Oh, that's
teaching
cool.
English. Yeah, it was a vibe. China was, before getting locked up, China was, man, it was like the best experience I've ever had in my life. Yeah, that is. Like, I encourage everybody to not only travel abroad, but if you can live abroad for someplace for a little bit of time, yeah, I highly encourage it. It was a vibe. I enjoyed myself a lot. The experience as a whole was very enlightening as well as entertaining. For sure. You know what I'm saying? It's truly a growing period for sure. You know what I'm saying? You're just in a completely different world essentially.
Yeah.
Real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everything is taboo, even though life is still the same system-wise, as far as people get up, kids go to school, folks go to work, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. But it's still different, you know what I'm saying? Even with the simplicities. So it just shifts it just broadens your perspective on just life in general.
Yeah, I can see that. It's mostly the dominant religion there is Buddhism, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
I wonder what they hold against cannabis. Why they've outlawed cannabis if it's more of a political thing with the UN, because I know the UN does it. But why would a Buddhist nation? Because with our country and our Christian capitalism kind of ways, I understand why they've used cannabis as the illegalization of cannabis as a weapon against people they didn't want to protest and things like this. But we also have a very dogmatic Christian, like, Jesus is what you need. You don't need cannabis kind of mentality. That's how they sell it. But a Buddhist nation just seems like pot goes hand in hand with some Zen Buddhism. Like, to me, I don't understand why they're arresting people for it.
Oh man, it's communist country at the same time. So China is a country that moves on order and discipline.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So this is what this is a tradition over here. This is how we've been getting down. So it's like, you gonna come over here, you better get down. If not, you're gonna lay down for sure. So that's just how they move. Very militant.
Yeah, I could see that. So the Buddhism has nothing to do with it. It's the communism and the control that they implement. So let me ask you this. So you had a great time there. would you ever go back after what happened?
For sure. Yeah.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I can't go back to 2024, but I definitely, if to bring everything full circle, I'll go back. I wouldn't go all out my way to go back, but you know what I'm saying? If the opportunity presented itself again, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Would you try to buy weed again?
Oh, no. Just quiet.
It sucks, man, you know, because weed to me makes everything a little brighter. That's how I use it. I use it this morning.
Yeah.
I used it before I went walking in the woods, and it just makes the day a little brighter. What's
Yeah.
wrong with that? You go to a place like China, it's beautiful. Smoke a little pot, seems like it'd be awesome.
Man, and that's the thing. Like, I was smoking the whole time I was out there. But for the most part, we smoking hash. So, and hash, you know what I'm saying, there's no real smell to it. You know what I'm saying? You gotta roll it with other things or mix it with other things just to be able to smoke it. So, man, we'll just make a bottle bong, you know what I'm saying, to smoke it like that. But just get high and go explore China. Talk about adventures. Man, going to the art district of Beijing, geeked up. Talking about it was journeys, lots of great journeys, man. It was a vibe. It was lit.
Hell yeah. And so I guess this hash is because hash is more condensed, so they can, because it's so criminalized there, you're gonna have a more potent, smaller amounts that they can pass around versus a big bag of weed.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you, but I think you just answered. Like, how were you smoking a lot before you got caught, or was it pretty much so you had been smoking there for pretty much the whole time, the whole 6 months?
For essentially, like, I ain't really started like buying my own and then smoking for real till probably like month 4. I want to say 3 or 4. You know what I'm saying? Once I was about halfway there, but yeah, but we definitely, you know what I'm saying, geeking almost every day for sure. Once we started getting on, but it was mainly the hash though. You know what I'm saying? The hash was smooth. Mix it in the hookah, go crazy.
Yeah, and so it's pretty popular there, even as criminalized as it is.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, foreigners know what's up. You know what I'm saying? The foreigners know what's up.
Yeah, so that's funny because like when Donald Trump said, and I criticized it, but he said, you look at countries in Asia that have heavily criminalized pot and have heavy penalties for drugs, they don't have drug problems. I'm like, well, if they're arresting people and killing people for drugs, you can't say there's no drug problem, or they wouldn't be doing that because there wouldn't be drugs. But I want this kind of goes against what they're saying. But yeah, penalties are a lot worse for cannabis over there, but people are still doing it. It's not stopping people from doing it, right?
No facts. No facts. It's mainly, I know it's a lot, mainly the foreigners. That's what they target for sure, because they know, you know what I'm saying, where we from traditionally, yeah, we can get down however, but you know what I'm saying, out there it's like, nah, you ain't gonna be able to do it. Nah, this ain't where you from, my boy. You have to tighten up.
Well, it makes you think of Brittany Griner right now. She got caught with, what was it, one vape cartridge, and now she's stuck indefinitely in prison in Russia. And that's a horrible situation. So you feel for people like that. Let me ask you this: how did you get caught? How did that go down?
I was in my apartment. I'm getting ready to leave. To head to the event. I just got done pre-gaming, so I'm figuring hit this event with friends and colleagues. So I'm, you know what I'm saying, I'm making sure I got everything before I get ready to walk out the door. Hear a knock at the door, look through the peephole. It's 3 officers from the Beijing police. So of course I'm spooked. So I, you know what I'm saying, scram, put everything up, open the door, they enter, and one of them's communicating to me via translator app on his phone. He questioned me about drugs. I'm sitting there playing the fool like I don't know what he's talking about. And go get my documentation so he could look it over. And then, you know what I'm saying, time passed, another officer comes into the apartment and they drug test me right there on the spot. So I was like, oh yeah, it's over with.
Wait, they drug tested you?
Right there on the spot.
How they do that? Mouth swab or hair?
Pee test.
They made you pee?
In the cup. Mm-hmm.
That is so crazy. I've always thought, even in our country, like, to get a job, you got to pee in a cup. It's such a ridiculous thing that we allow to do in a free country. I'm gonna need your urine. What? But for the cops to just, because in our country that would never happen. They'll come in and search with, with a no-knock warrant and all that bullshit. But they won't sit there and be like, pee in this cup right in front of me. Like, I'm like, fuck you. I'm not fucking.
Yeah. So, pee into the cup. So do that. Results come back instantly. Fail the drug test, of course. You know what I'm saying? So now more officers are in the apartment. One in particular speaks English fluently. He's questioned me about failing the drug test, where I get the weed from, was the last time I smoked, da, 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 da. I'm just shooting shit with him, going back and forth. And then once he realized I wasn't going to give him any information that he could work with, he pretty much just made it clear and evident that I was just caught red-handed. They knew, you know what I'm saying, what my stash was and all this. So I'm like, I bet it is what it is at this point.
Yeah.
I got to hold myself accountable. So it is what it is.
So they searched your apartment, or did you just give it to them?
No, they were searching it the whole time because I was talking to him.
Oh, and they found it.
Yeah, so he was like, "Well," I was so he's like, he asked me because he asked me a specific question. He said, "Are you sure there are any drugs in here, in like a bag or a container or something?" And as soon as he said that, I was like, "This dude here," because I put the stash in my shea butter container, and I put the container inside my Stetson backpack, and I put the backpack up underneath my bed. So he said, "In a bag or container or something." I said, "Oh yeah, it's over with. It's over."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, for sure.
Yeah.
He said, "Show him." I get up to show him. Lo and behold, yeah, it's right. You know what I'm saying? They've been found it. So I'm like, for sure.
Now, were you like, well, did you just accept it? Like, I guess this is what's happening, or were you mad?
I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. I got to hold myself accountable. I knew the repercussions of behind this. You know what I'm saying? And especially where I'm at. So the fact that shit has hit the fan, it is what it is. And I'm still high at this point too. So I'm just like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, damn, bro, it's crazy. Like this happening. Nobody know this is happening. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I know I'm gonna be good though. I know I'm gonna be good when it's all done.
That's what's
I said,
happening.
just take note of every minor detail. I said, take note of every minor detail because it's gonna be a great story to tell once you're out of this predicament. And most importantly, enjoy this high one last time, because we don't know what the hell finna happen to us, boy. So, you know what I mean?
That's enjoy this high one last time, and there's some wisdom in that. Man, what was I going to ask you about the? Well, I was thinking about accountability though. Like, yeah, I understand what you're saying, that you knew what you were doing and you knew that there would be consequences if you got caught. But I mean, it's not like if I had a backpack and someone gave me a kilo of cocaine or even cannabis, and I'm in another country and I'm about to cross a border, then I know I'm accountable. This is some serious shit that I could go to prison for. And if I get caught, I did what I did. I made this stupid decision. But if I have a little bit of pot on me because I like to get high, I don't think I should be accountable for this. Like, I didn't do anything fucking wrong. I'm not crossing borders or selling. I'm just getting a little bit high, and that's my own business. But that's how it is all over the world, right?
It's different over there. They classify all that the same. Weed, that's up there with meth and heroin and all the hardcore drugs. That's up there with this. Up there with that.
It is in our country too. The difference is they've created separate laws for like cocaine and crack and things, to where if you get caught with these, there's an 18-to-1 crack cocaine, which is some bullshit. It used to be 100-to-1. Obama made it 18-to-1. Why not just 1-to-1? It's the same drug essentially. But so what we do, cannabis is actually Schedule 1 in this country, so it's right there with heroin, cocaine. No, I'm trying to think with heroin, meth, mushrooms, LSD. I'm sorry, I think meth is not Schedule 1. So below cannabis is cocaine, methamphetamine, because they can use them medically, because methamphetamine is actually prescribed for certain conditions, and cocaine is used as well. So cannabis is higher than those. But Biden just pardoned everybody with felony cannabis records, which is a strange thing to do and not also legalized, because you're saying it's okay that, or you're going to forgive them for their past crime, but you're not going to stop more people from getting arrested and having those same charges.
Yeah, it's America though.
It's politics and it's money, and I think that's the only thing stopping them. Because do you think any politician cares if people get high? Actually, it's like I mean, some do, because of the propaganda that they were fed. I listened to Chris Christie the other day on Bill Maher, and he was saying, like, I'm against cannabis. I think he calls it marijuana. Most people that aren't for it will call it marijuana, but he's like, I'm for criminalization of marijuana. I didn't want it legalized. I don't think people should do it. And it's just, and Bill Maher's sitting there. He's like, I got high this morning. Like, why do you care? What does it matter? But they don't have an answer. They grew up believing all this stuff. And I talk about on my podcast, nobody alive today remembers a world that was before prohibition with the drugs. All we remember, even our grandparents, the drugs were criminalized their whole life. So that nobody alive today remembers hey, there was a time when people could go get heroin from a doctor and they didn't have a problem. They actually went and lived their lives and worked their jobs and took care of their children. And then they outlawed it. The drugs went to the street. The prices went up. They started committing crimes to get their drugs. The drugs got harder. Now they got fentanyl in them. So that's the only world we know. So when people talk about legalization, they don't think about a world that is actually peaceful and people get along and people can use their substances of choice. All they think is the current way the drug world looks worse. That's what they see. It's worse. No, it won't be worse, but that's what they see. 100,000 people die from fentanyl. Legalize it, it'll be 500,000. That's what they think, even though the reality is it'll be zero, as it is in Switzerland. But so let's talk about your book. I want to talk about your book a little bit. I haven't read it. I just started researching what you were into today, and I saw that the book is 14 Days in Beijing. And I know you were saying when you were in there, you were like, just remember this experience. It's going to be a great story to tell. And then at some point you decided it was not just a good story to tell, but it's a story you wanted to write about.
Well, I just knew I was going to tell the story. I didn't know how I was going to tell it. I just knew this. I'm finna go through an experience. You crazy, you think I'm not going to do anything with this experience. Like, I'm going to do something with it. You know what I'm saying? For sure. I know I'm supposed to do something with it. I'm finna go through it. Me? Oh, yeah. I'm supposed to do something with this. But I had no clue what, especially at that point in time. I'm like, oh yeah, I just know it's gonna be crazy to tell all my friends and family, like, boy, y'all ain't gonna believe this. Like, man, it's gonna be a crazy story. But I had no clue I was gonna write a book. I didn't get that. I did until one of my friends I grew up with. He was a published author before we graduated high school in 2014. And so he was the one that put the book in my ear, like, hey, bro, you should write a book about the experience. I'm like, it's genius. It's genius, yeah, for sure. I don't even know where to start. But he was like, all right, he took my phone, one of my notes, and gave me a brief little outline, basic outline. And I just started filling it in. And once I started, I caught a flow how I wanted to go about telling the story. And then I just moved it from my notes to a Google Doc. Started typing it up, and then 4 months later, the story was written. And then another 6 months just to get it ready for publishing.
That's awesome, man. So you did it. You know, when you accomplish something like that, it's gotta feel so good after what you went through to be like, now I got something to show for it. You know, like, this is my life. I'm putting it out there.
Oh, me, yeah. So I got locked up on April 4th, 2019. So on April 4th, 2020, I released the first version of 14 Days in Beijing. I was ranked the #1 new bestseller in 3 different genres, but I'm still on pre-sale.
That's awesome. Very cool. So 14 days. Now, you said the first 3 days, nobody spoke English, but then at some point, somebody came in there you could talk to, right?
Well, I was moved to a new cell. Well, me and 3 other people moved to a new cell. And in that new cell were 2 English speakers. One was a Chinese American from California, who's fluent in Mandarin and English, and then the other one was Brazilian from Brazil, but was fluent in both languages. Well, both languages and of course Portuguese.
Right.
So yeah, those. So now I got somebody I can communicate with. So it's a more of a positive vibe now. Just because, you know what I'm saying, hey, we got somebody we can talk to. Now we can start making some sense of what's going on, connecting some dots, and that we do. You start learning how the process works and how the jail operates and all of that, but we still have no clue how long I'm gonna be here.
Yeah. Did they have any information? Did they have any information for you that you didn't know before, like anything, or were they kind of in the dark, just like you?
Just no, everybody knew everything about them, like their situation. Everybody knew everything to the T. So they tell me, oh yeah, this is how the process went. When you met with the warden down the hall, he should have told you how long you do. He said he didn't do that. I'm like, nah, bro. He's like, oh wow. So yeah, so you know what I'm saying, you got to do this or you get this. Or I'm like, bro, these folks ain't explain nothing to me, bro. They just gave me this uniform, this bowl, and this spoon, bro, and threw me in here. You know what I'm saying? So
now, I wonder if is that because the other guys you said they also spoke Mandarin, so maybe the warden only spoke Mandarin, so he just was like, oh, he doesn't speak my language, so I won't. Maybe that's why they didn't talk to you.
Probably, I don't know. And then just from my culture, I've just been told since I was in how to a bullfrog, not to talk to the police. So my mouth is closed. I'm not really speaking unless directly spoken to. And it ain't like I can speak to these folks anyway. So
Right,
you know what
right.
I'm saying? It was no communication. And they ain't bothering to talk to me. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm just following order.
I'd be scared though, because in our country, you're right. Don't talk to the cops, and I've always been that way. If cops say, "Can you search?" you say no. That's just a no-brainer. I don't know why people say yes if they know they have something. At least try to, stop them from searching your shit. Sometimes, yeah, the cops might be corrupt. I had it happen on the way to we were going to a music festival. You get pulled over in an RV, and I didn't know it was a thing that cops did. They knew about the festival. It was Bonnaroo, a big festival, so they knew I was going right by Barnesville, Georgia. Not sure if you know where that is. It's right outside of Atlanta somewhere, Barnesville.
Mm-hmm.
But we got pulled over in Barnesville by these Georgia cops, and they were like, "Can we search your camp or RV?" And I was like, "No, no, you can't." And they were like, "Well, that's your right. Can't search. So we're just gonna get this dog here to walk around." Oh, he smelled something. We're gonna go in and search. So it's like, what was the point of my right for you not to be able to search if you're just gonna use a dog and search anyway? And my buddies are like, "Dude, you just have I had like 2.5 grams of pot." And I was like, and my buddies were like, "You're gonna be fine." I'm like, "No, I'm not, because I know exactly what's going on here." They know we're going to the concert. They're stopping every RV they see to see if they have drugs, and they're making arrests, and that's how they're making the money. It's legal highway robbery. They're not going to let me go because all they need is the smallest amount to arrest me. And sure enough, as soon as they found it, like, "Well, we found the drugs." I'm like, "Good job, man. Good fucking job." Like, what the hell? They took us to jail. They got us out pretty fast. They just wanted like $2,000 when we went back to court. So that was what it was. It was just robbery. And also the federal government gives states kickbacks for every drug arrest. That's something Reagan started. So it's money on both sides, man. They're raking in the dough. The scam.
I'm telling you, it's all this money making. It's like, okay, we see, right? Yeah, it's all part of the agenda.
It is. What I hate about we live in the Bible Belt, right? So there's I'm Charlotte, you're Atlanta, and even other places like New Orleans. These are some of my favorite cities. Like, I'd love to live here, but it's like all my favorite cities in the South have these strict drug laws. All the cities like Denver and California, they're legalizing. I want my cities to legalize. I want to stay in the South. I don't want to have to go to California or Colorado to smoke legal bud.
On me, time ain't no telling when it's gonna come, but it's gonna come one day.
It's definitely going to come, and it needs to happen on the federal level. Like Joe Biden, what he should have done is legalize cannabis. It would have been the perfect time right before the midterms. He might be waiting. Maybe he's waiting before the next election because everything's political. It's a strategy. It's not. He doesn't give a shit. But if they do it, they just need to do it. I thought Trump should have done it. I was like, I didn't like Trump at all. But if he would have legalized cannabis, he might have got some people. That would have been a smart political move for him. But he didn't do it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But hopefully it happens.
They waiting
soon.
to pull the trigger. They waiting to pull the trigger. They waiting for the right opportunity.
Do you guys have medical in Georgia?
Yeah. We do. I think we just got it.
That's a step.
But it ain't even really it ain't really big like that for real.
See, we have it in Florida, and at first it was real strict. They were like, you have to actually have a legit doctor's note to say. Because I went in and I said, "Yeah, I got PTSD from childhood trauma." I just said, they were like, "No, you have to have an actual doctor's note." So I was like, "Oh shit." So I went to a psychiatrist to try to, tell him about my childhood, and he looks at me, and goes, "Look, you don't have PTSD." And I'm like, he goes, "But here's the deal. I'm gonna write you a thing that says you do have PTSD, because I think if you're buying cannabis at a place, it's safer than buying it on the streets, because the streets they lace it with cocaine to make you addicted to it," which is like, no, they don't. But I was like, "Sure, man. Thank you." Like, whatever. But as soon as I went to the doctor, by then they had already loosened it up. The doctor goes, "Why did you need this diagnosis?" He goes, "You just come in here and tell me you get headaches for all of it, because I'll give you a prescription." And that's how it is now. It's just a formality. So you go in, you pay $250. They give you a card. They tell you basically how to fill it out. You send 75 to the state, and then you can buy cannabis. But to me, what that means is that the middle class, the people that can afford that money, can smoke legally. And the lower class who can't afford that, are still getting arrested. And that's what medical marijuana really looks like, is the lower class can still be arrested. We can still profit off arresting them. But the middle class don't have to get arrested now because they can pay the right money. It's fucked up.
Man, boy, they eating. Them folks eating. I can respect game now. There's one thing I can do. I can respect game.
But not at the expense of people's lives. People
me.
think about it. When people, lower class communities, they're coming up. They're already in a worse position than the middle class families with not having the money that the money the parents spend on all the extra activities and things. They come up, they want a good chance in this world, and then they get arrested when they're young because a lot of them have problems at home and stuff. So they medicate, as I did when I was young, self-medicate with cannabis or other drugs. Then you end up with a permanent criminal record before you're 18. So then you go to get a job, and they're like, "Have you ever been convicted of a crime?" You're like, "If I say yes, they're not going to hire me. If I say no, hopefully I'll just say no and hope they don't check." And then half the jobs I wanted, they just 2 weeks later when it came back, they fired me and say you lied about your drug arrest. And it's like, that's a lot of kids' lives, man. And a lot of people, like, I got lucky. I'm a musician, so I ended up working for myself as a musician in Southwest Florida. It's been great. But for most people, they just end up in a shitty job. They can't get the job they want because of that record. And that's why the ban the box movement started. Like, they shouldn't, once you've done your time, why the fuck are we asking kids if they've ever been committed of a crime? If you've done your time, then you've paid society, the debt to society, whatever it is. You shouldn't be still being punished for it. And that's what's happening.
I mean, no
So-
facts, right?
That's what I'm saying. Let's say I understand and respect the game, but the game's fucked up. I mean, but I guess what you're saying, if the game's fucked up and you want to, you can capitalize on it and profit on it, or you can fight the game, which is what I'm trying to do. There's not a lot of profit in fighting it.
Oh, me, man, just trying to get through this maze, man. That's it. It's a journey.
So before I let you go, I want to ask you real quick about your other 2 books. You have 2 other books of the saga that you're working on?
Yeah. Well, yeah, all 3 books is one trilogy, essentially. But the last 2 books are romance stories. And they, you know what I'm saying, part 1, part 2, essentially. So, and it's pretty much it's based on a true story, and it's pretty much a prequel of 14 Days, because as you read 14 Days, I had a girlfriend at the time that I speak of throughout the story, but I don't get a chance to actually speak to her. And a lot of the females that was reading 14 Days asked me about, you know what I'm saying, what happened to the old girl, because I was talking about her in the book, but don't really get to talk to her. And then I get out, and that's just the end of the story. So they wanted the tea on that. So it's pretty much the prequel to give you a background of how me and her started in college. And then, of course, now you got 14 Days. And then Real Love Never Dies. And Real Love Never Dies being the last book, it takes you through where, of course, You Love, You Learn leaves off, like early college. Then, of course, me going into just now real life, now me going to China, now me living my best life in China, and then, of course, what took place after those 14 days. So it just brings the whole story. It just connects the entire story, essentially. So all 3 books are just one long story, but completely different tones. Yeah,
That's very cool. I like that. Now, are you gonna continue writing? Are you gonna get into writing fiction and stuff, or you think you're gonna stay with true life?
Yeah, I definitely gonna continue to write. Fiction, I'm sure I'll probably get into it eventually. I wouldn't say after 14 days, I thought that was gonna be the only book. I'm like, I don't see myself writing anything else, and then boom. So clearly, I'm gonna be writing books for the rest of my life. But when will the next book be? I don't even know. Couldn't even tell you. But right now, I'm just coaching and helping other aspiring authors with their book writing process and publishing process.
That's very cool, man.
Right
I
now.
love writing. I've not published anything. I just kind of do it for myself, but I write fiction and short stories and stuff. And it's just going into that space is fun. Music's my main thing. So we write songs, and we're going to release an album. So that's the things I'll actually release. But who knows, down the road I might try to actually release something that I've written. It's just so getting in your own world and just letting it loose on the pages. Isn't that just amazing?
It's a zone for sure. It's a zone. It's a zone for sure.
Yeah, and it's like when you're sitting writing, it's like weird when the words start coming out. It feels like you hear other writers talking about how it feels like it comes from somewhere else. Like you're just like it's coming through you and onto the pages. It's a very strange feeling to just
you're releasing it.
Yeah. And also it's almost like you're getting to read it while you're writing it. Like you're reading the story, but you're the one writing it at the same time. It's really cool.
I mean, you feel amazing. You feel relieved and empowered after you finally get it all on paper. for sure. Now you have a whole different look and perspective about it, looking at it now as a document versus it's just all in your head. And you know what I'm saying? For sure, you didn't let it go. And now you just, okay, now I have something versus, you know what I'm saying, just stress or just anxiety or, you know what I'm saying, monkey on my back, whatever you want to consider it as. But yeah, it's therapeutic.
Definitely is. So, so what's your next adventure? Do you have anything else lined up? You said you can't go back to China to 2024. Are you thinking about going somewhere else?
Um, yeah, I got a whole list of places I want to travel to. Which one will be first on the board? I have no clue. I'm just still laying down this foundation in grind mode right now, but definitely, yeah, I want to do something lit for sure. Something lit.
Is Peru on your list?
Peru?
Yeah.
Nah, I got added though.
have you heard about the ayahuasca sessions down there? You know what ayahuasca is?
Name sound familiar.
It's a DMT trip, but it's a very powerful psychedelic. But you drink it with the shaman in the rainforest in Peru. And I've not done it. I've smoked DMT, and that's a whole nother world. But I want to go to Peru and do the actual sit with the shaman and go into that other. It's like going into another dimension. It's really cool and bizarre, and I think it feels like a real place. It doesn't feel like a dream. It feels like you're actually like communicating with the earth on a different level. It's weird, but it's really, really powerful.
It sounds lit. Yeah, it sounds lit. For sure.
So what would be your next place you think? If you go like Amsterdam, what are you thinking? Like Australia? What if you anywhere in the world right now? Where do you think?
I got just so many places. I want to hit Canada. I want to hit Amsterdam. I want to hit Australia. I want to hit Thailand. I want to hit Japan. I want to hit the motherland, of course, South Africa, Nigeria, Rwanda. India. Yeah, I want to slide to India too. Or India. Yeah, I want to slide to India. I think India be lit. There's quite a few places I want to hit for sure.
I definitely want to check out India for specific reasons, spiritual reasons. Like I was reading this book Ram Dass wrote about dying, and he said that there was this place in India by this water. The water's supposed to be like mystical or magical, whatever. And people were sick and dying. They would go die by the water. That was where they wanted to die. So when he was young, he went to the street, as an American, and he sees all these people dying in the streets, and he's like, I felt so bad for him. He's like, why aren't they being helped? Why aren't they in a hospital? And he was just feeling horrible for them. And he didn't understand at the time that they were where they wanted to be, and that they were feeling sorry for him because he was the one lost, is the way they looked at it. They're like, where we were supposed to be, but you're thinking we need to be in some hospital when we're exactly, so he learned. It was a whole spiritual learning from him that we're too afraid of death in the West. We don't see it. We box it up in rooms and we hide from it, and then we grieve in strange ways, whereas they accept it there. And it's like, I'm scared of death, I'm not gonna lie, but I want to have that experience to learn a little because of my fear of death, honestly.
Oh, me. Yeah, I got some colleagues in India I've been working with since 2020. I heard India is very, very cheap, especially it's expensive to get over there. But once you're there, oh man, you can go all day for like $10. You know what I'm saying? It's cheap for real. So yeah, I definitely wanna. He was telling me there's some mountains out there where you can smoke weed. And it's a vibe because you gotta hike up the mountains, and it's like a whole little community up there. And you're saying I can smoke. Cannabis is cannabis friendly, so you can smoke, and they got hash and all that type shit out there. So I'm like, oh yeah, that just sound like a vibe. That just sound like a vibe. I definitely want to start.
That would be super, super awesome. Going up into a mountain with some monks and some Buddhist monks and hire some Hindu shaman or whatever. I don't know. That would be so cool just to be there, man. I've not traveled abroad, honestly, other than I've been to the islands, the Cayman Islands and Bahamas and stuff, but I really wanted to get traveling. I got my passport for my first time in 2020. We were going to Puerto Rico, and then that shut down. So, and then the hurricane just hit. We're supposed to, again, this year's or in February, I was supposed to go to Puerto Rico. We rebooked the trip from 2020, and then I lost everything in the hurricane. So I'm like, I doubt I'm going to go to Puerto Rico now in February. there's a chance, but it's not likely. And Puerto Rico is still not that far, but it's not really abroad, right? I want to go to Europe. I want to go to Spain. I really want to go to Greece. That's the foundation of Western culture happened in Greece. I just like to see the history there in Rome, stuff like that.
Oh, me, yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to hit London too. I've been to London twice, but that's when I was a kid, so I definitely want to go now that I'm an adult. And the experience traveling, yeah, I know London. And I can speak English. Oh, yeah, this wow, well, I know London be lit.
Yeah, I want to go record at Abbey Road Studios. That's on my bucket list for sure.
That'd be, that'd be too hard.
Hell yeah.
That'd be,
yeah, definitely want to do some exploring also in Australia, like some scuba diving or something like that down there would be awesome.
Yeah, I gotta know a couple folks that's out there and that I met in college. You know what I'm saying? Every last one of them cool, down to earth people. So I'm like, yeah, I want to see what the land itself is talking about, just because y'all good people.
Hell yeah. One thing that sucks about countries like in Asia and apparently I think Australia is, can't bring pot, and be careful when you're in those countries because they're for some reason super strict about drugs. I mean, in Malaysia, they'll murder you if you get caught with drugs. Like, or no, I'm sorry, the Philippines. I don't know about Malaysia is probably pretty bad too, but the Philippines, they'll murder you. But I'm going to ask you one last question I forgot to ask you. Did they charge you any fines or anything when you got out? Did you have to pay anything?
No, like, come on. All right. Yeah, throw your clothes on. All right. Sign this. All right. Thumbprint it. All right. We in the van. And
wow.
Straight to the apartment. Pack up. All right. Back in the van. Straight to the airport. Here go your ticket. Escort me to the gate. Watch me get up. Watch me get on the ramp. And that's it.
That's crazy. To me, it's like, what was their incentive to arrest you? They had to feed you granted, they fed you probably cheap as shit because like you said, just a few bowls of soup. But still, they had to feed you, house you. They didn't charge you anything, and then they put you on a plane. It's like, what was their incentive? In our country, they're charging you. The probation officers are making money. Lawyers are making money. The government's getting money. There's a lot of incentive to arrest people for pot, but it sounds like they just lost money on that deal.
Yeah, I don't know what was the purpose. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I knew I was supposed to go through it for sure. Just to, you know what I'm saying, be here to find myself. One, I needed to go through all of that just to be able to tell you who I am today and what I got going on, and you know what I'm saying, showcase my spirit. And not only that, you know what I'm saying, I got a story out of it. I'm saying a hell of one, a hell of a good one, you know what I'm saying, for sure.
That's what's up. So I was gonna ask you I'm gonna go a little more detail about the 14 days, but the thing is to read your book. That's where you're gonna get that information, is get the book, read the book. And I'm gonna have to check that book out because I'm curious how, because I'm sure once you started putting on the pages, you went into those memories and really, soaked them in and put them on paper. So you really can have that experience. And I love to read stuff like that, real life.
Yeah, it was crazy to me because once I got back to America in April, you know what I'm saying, the same month. But I ain't start writing the book till like July. So from April to July, I just, you know what I'm saying, it was just on my conscious and subconscious. But it wasn't until I started writing the story, like you said, and that's when you get really tapping into that zone and you reliving everything. I really relived everything, and it still shocks me to this day how I was able to, take note of every minor detail. I did, like I told myself to, all the way to the conversations that I had, specifically with certain people and how, you know what I'm saying? I was just, this is crazy. This is amazing. And for me to have it on my mental for this span of time, and now I'm just now putting it on paper, I'm like, man, it's crazy. That's how I know I was supposed to write this story. For sure.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I'm glad you came on the podcast to share your story, and I love that you wrote this book. It's awesome. People need to hear stories like this. People need to understand that why are good people going to jail in different countries and having all these things happen for something as simple as cannabis, which isn't harming anybody. So is there anything else you want to add to the conversation before we wrap this up?
Yeah. I want to leave y'all with a quote by Nipsey Hussle. For y'all that don't know who Nipsey Hussle is, he's a rapper from South Central Los Angeles, serial entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? All in all, You know what I'm saying? Jack of all trades, you know what I'm saying? Self-made, independent. And he started on the same block he grew up in, you know what I'm saying? The same community. Um, um, but the quote goes, like, you long-winded, running through this life like it was mine. Never settling, but setting every goal high. 1,000 burpees on the path of my own self-destruction or success. But what's a mistake without the lesson? You see, the best teacher in life is your own experience. None of us know who we are until we fail. They say every person is defined by their reaction to any given situation. So who would you want to define you? Someone else or yourself? Whatever you choose to do, homie, give your heart to it. Stay strong.
Hell yeah, man. I love that. And that definitely, I can relate to it right now. That's what I need to hear after what we just went through with the hurricane, man. And when I text you about it, you said something inspirational back to me about it. And it's how you handle your situation. Everybody has things happen. And you say, is this going to break me? Is this going to make me stronger? That's it, man. Well, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to tell you again, may the best team win tomorrow. We'll be watching that game, fighting for the division. We're not, but anyway, it's going to be great. And then in less than 2 weeks, we play you again in Charlotte. I'm going to that game Thursday night.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, I know it's going to be lit.
All right. Well, Chancellor, man, it was great talking with you. Maybe we'll do this again sometime. I can't wait to read your book.
Hey, appreciate you, family.
All right. God bless.
Peace.
Peace. All right. Peace, Nicks. I ended with God bless. I don't think I've ever said that in my life. That just shows I've been here in North Carolina for a while. This place is starting to rub off on me. There's nothing wrong with that, though. God bless. Peace out. It's all good. I just want to say, if you enjoy what we're doing here at the Peace on Drugs podcast, go to Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Peace on Drugs podcast. And if you like what we're doing and you want to be reminded when we have podcast release, go to www.thepeaceondrugs.com/subscribe. Subscribe to our newsletter. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Thanks for being a part of this movement. And I'm glad to be back after Hurricane Ian. We are rebuilding our lives. We're finding ourselves in just an amazing place, walking in the woods every day, hiking. We went to South Mountain and saw these waterfalls. I'm sitting out here on the back porch of my sister's house, surrounded by woods. The leaves are changing. It's therapeutic. It's a form of meditation. We go walking in the woods. Sometimes we don't say a word. We just walk and just are in the moment with the forest. I'm also reading this amazing book. Hold on, let me grab it real fast. All right, I got the book right here. It's called Entangled Life: How Fungi Make Our Worlds, Change Our Minds, and Shape Our Futures. It's by Merlin Sheldrake. Amazing book about fungus and just how these things we don't ever think about, like how the forest is actually this whole breathing almost organism. They all work on each other. The mycelium from the mushrooms, let's just say the mycelium is like the tree that grows under the ground. The mushrooms are actually just the fruiting bodies. Think of like apples on an apple tree. And it's just such a fascinating story about fungus. And one of the most amazing ones that I read about, one of the ones I love the most too, are truffles. Truffles grow under the ground. And we all heard about, having a truffle pig or a truffle dog and how truffles are really expensive, but I didn't know much more than that about them. I watched the movie Pig with Nicolas Cage. Highly recommend that movie. Really cool story. Almost a Fight Club, but with culinary in the Portland, Oregon scene. It's really cool. But it starts with, I'll just watch the movie Pig. Anyway, truffles grow under the ground. And this is the last thing I'm going to nerd out on about mushrooms, and I'm going to let you guys go. But truffles grow underneath the ground. But the reason mushrooms exist is because they're spores. That's how the plant propagates. That's how it spreads. It's like an apple drops, a plant drops, or a tree drops the apple, an animal picks up the apple to eat it, takes the apple somewhere else, throws the core away, the seeds go in the ground, another apple tree grows. That's how the apple tree spreads. So how mushrooms spread is they sprout mushrooms above the soil, and the wind picks up the spores, or the spores can spread by animals eating them, by humans eating them. When I'm eating psychedelic mushrooms and I'm dropping them around places, who knows, maybe psychedelic mushrooms are being spread and that's what their purpose is. But that's the point, is that the spores spread and they fly through the air, they float through the air, they may be picked up in storms. There was reading about orchids, about how some orchids come from hurricanes in South America, are picked up in winds and are dropped off by hurricanes in Florida and end up in the Everglades. Pretty cool stuff. So how does a truffle that grows under the ground spread its spores? And the reason is it evolved to create the most delicious aromas that would be attracted by, humans, by dogs, pigs, all these different animals that would dig them up and then eat them. And then when they would take a shit, I don't know, I'm not being very scientific here, but the spores would be there, and the mushrooms or the truffles could grow there. So because of how they had to spread, they purposely became super delicious. And I love truffles. Actually, I don't know if I've ever even had real truffles. I love truffle oil. I love that flavor, but it's probably artificial. But now I have to, next time we travel, if we go somewhere that has fresh truffles. Also, I found out that there is wild truffles in the North Carolina mountains, and I want to try to go truffle hunting sometime. Don't know if I'll make it while I'm here, because we're about to go back to Florida. Anyway, this book is super fascinating if you're into stuff like that. Entangled Life. Highly recommend it. Anyway, it was great talking with Chancellor, getting to know someone that's not even far. He's like 4 hours down in Atlanta, and told his story. You heard it. Great time. I love this. I love doing this podcast, and I'm just going to say one last thing, and that is peace out.